Hey guys, and welcome once again to another one of my videos. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to receive a new starter form, use that new starter form to start a business process. With that business process, we're going to fill in a couple of bits of information, and then we are going to automatically create a contract of employment that is fully editable in Word. To do this, we're going to use DocuWare Forms, make.com, and a Word template document. So let's dive in. Step one is to create a filing cabinet where I'm going to store my template documents in. So first of all, I'm going to click my name, go to configurations. From in there, I'm going to go to filing cabinets. I'm going to create a new filing cabinet and call it templates. I don't need full text search here. And for the sake of the demo, I'm just going to add two fields. The first field is going to be department, and the second field is going to be template name. You may not need these fields, these are just for the sake of the demo, so feel free to create fields as you see fit for your implementation. Next, finish. That's my filing cabinet set up. If I now go back to DocuWare, refresh the system, I'll be able to see the filing cabinet now exists in my searches. There we are. After the filing cabinet set up, I now need to create and edit the template that I'm going to use. For this demonstration, I'm going to use this Word document as a template. So I need to set the template up to be able to work with make.com. I'm going to edit the document, which will bring it back to me in Microsoft Word. And I need to make any piece of data that I would like to use enclosed in double squirrely brackets, like this. It's really important that it's double squirrely brackets. It makes it really identifiable within make.com when you're looking for it. What it also does is means you don't pick up an extra piece of data that you weren't looking for accidentally. What I would also recommend as well is that you ensure that the data within is all one word. So rather than having, I don't know, user space name, put an underscore in there. Keep it case sensitive as well, so either all uppercase, lowercase, or proper case, but just make sure it's really uniform to keep it simple to do. So I've already put square brackets around these. I'm just going to go and replace the square brackets with the curly brackets, replace all, and the other way as well. Replace the closing square brackets with the closing squarely brackets, replace all. Excellent. My document's now ready to be used as a template. I'm going to save that and store that back into DocuWare. If I now take the document, store it into the template filing cabinet that I'd created, department is HR, template name, contract of employment. Click store. That's going to leave my document tray, store away into the filing cabinet. If I go to my searches, I can see the document there in my filing cabinet. What I will need for later in the build is the doc ID, so I can right click, go to edit index entries, system entries, and I know this is the first document there, so it's got a doc ID of 1. Perfect. So now my document's stored away in the document cabinet. Now what I need to do is create a document cabinet for my actual live business documents to go into. So once again, click on the name, configurations. It's going to open up the configurations page. Go to filing cabinets, new filing cabinet. Call this one HR. I'm going to leave full text search on for this cabinet. Give it a color. This time in the fields, I need the fields that are going to be relevant to this document section within the system. So I'm going to have company name, employee name, address, job title, and finally annual salary. And I'm going to make the annual salary decimal. Last one will be start date, and that's obviously going to be a date field. Next through. You can sort permissions if you need to. I will cover permissions and things like that in another video. But now I have my HR cabinet set up. Now we've got our template cabinet set up with a template document in it. We've got our HR cabinet set up ready to receive documents. What I need to do now is create the new starter form for the new starter to fill in for us to begin this business process. For this demonstration, I'm going to keep the new starter form really basic. I will have further form, field behavior, calculation and things demoed later on in my YouTube channel. But for now, if we go to forms, we're going to create a new form. Call it new starter form. Get the title of new starter form. Don't need a subtitle. Alignment in the center. And then we need some entries. So the first one I want is the date. I'm going to call that start date. It's going to be required. Next is going to be employee name or full name. Again, that's going to be required. Next is going to be address. And again, that's going to be required. And that's all I want for the new starter form for now. Under submissions, I'm happy with a web form. You may want a merge form, it's up to you. Output, I want this to go to the HR filing cabinet. Document format doesn't really matter, to be honest. Indexing, I want to fill in all of the fields that are coming from the form that I can use in the document filing cabinet. So employee name, I'm going to call full name. Address is already mapped up. Start date is already mapped up. And I think that was everything. Yep. Permissions, allow a public user to use this or the admin user to use it. What I also need to do is set this as a public form. Because this is going to be filled in by people that are not DocuWare users, they won't have a license, so the form needs to be public. So I tick public form, click configure, and type in my username and password. Validate the credentials, get a success pop up in the top right hand corner. Click OK, save, and publish. I now have a functioning, so if I go to the web form, public web form that I can use to do the rest of my build with. I can test it. Let's click submit. I'll get a pop-up telling me that the form has been submitted successfully. If I go back to my DocuWare system, refresh, go and look in the HR cabinet, I have a document there already waiting for me. What I now need to do is create the business process that is going to support these new starter forms coming in, being actioned by somebody in the HR team, and then the contract being created. So if I open up my workflow designer, I want a new workflow, call it new starter forms. Under the HR, type all the admin details in again for the login. The trigger on this is going to be for new documents. I haven't got a document type in here. I should have created one when I created the filing cabinet. So I'll just do where employee name is not empty. Click OK. type in the password, and we get the ability to create a workflow. I'm going to, first step of the workflow is assign, move to HR team. This is a demo system, so there's only one user, so for the sake of this demo, I'm just going to put it to myself. What you would normally have is a couple of roles in here where you'd be able to move, so you'd have like a role for the HR team, a role for the recruitment team, and things like that, so you can segregate user permissions out as by groups of people rather than as individuals. A user of a group, move me in there. Excellent. I'm now going to give me a task. So I'm going to go to tasks, present a task, new starter form received. One thing I always forget to do is tick this. It's handy just to always have it on, so I'd always recommend just ticking it. Turning on the time as well just helps when you're looking at the document or looking at the stamps to see the audit history of that document as it's been through the business, and the decision name as well. I'm not going to turn notification on for the sake of this demo, but if you wanted to, you can send an email and then type out a custom email. Now into decisions. We can choose the decisions by clicking the plus on the left-hand side. For the sake of this demo, I'm only going to have one decision, but you could have multiple. So I could have approve employee, reject employee, and as a result of the different decisions we have, the workflow can move in different directions. So I'm just going to have approve employee. I'm going to make it green. It's going to be the default decision. And then I've got the dialog. Now the dialog is what displays to me as I'm approving the document in the business process. So in here, I'm going to have the company, so the company that the employee is going to work for. That's going to be required. I'm also going to have the salary. That's going to be a decimal field to 2 decimal places, and again that's going to be required. And finally, I'm going to have job title, and again that's going to be required. Under assign data, what DocuWare Workflow doesn't do is pass the data anywhere in these fields unless you tell it. So under the assigned data, I need to map those 3 values up to the index field, and that's going to go to the annual salary, job title, and company name. Under the entry type, it's going to be workflow field for all of them, salary, job title, company name. Click OK. That's my task now set up. Next, I need to trigger a web service to let Make know that I am ready for it to create the contract for me. So click web service, drag it over, call it create contract. Under the web service, I'm going to send it to make.com. I have other videos showing you how to set up these initial connections. Please do go and have a look over at those if you're unsure or don't have this in your DocuWare system at the moment. This URL may not be the correct URL for you, so it is just something to be aware of. Under the request, change the method to post. Go to the HTTP body, and this is where we tell make.com all of the data we would like it to fill in on the form for us. In here we use what's called a JSON. There's a really handy W3 Schools that shows you how to, or the JSON formatting and how to build JSONs. I'd recommend looking at that if you're really unsure here. Alternatively, you can choose a squiggly bracket. I like to format my JSONs quite nicely just so they're easy to read. So I'm going to go squiggly bracket, 2 spaces, speech mark, company underscore name, speech mark, colon, speech mark, and then under index fields, I'm going to map it to the company name field in DocuWare. Close it with the speech marks and comma, and then just do the same for the other fields. The only thing to be aware of when you're doing this in the JSONs is make sure that for the last line, you do not have a comma afterwards. So every other line needs separating by a comma. For the last line here, do not have a comma at the end, and also make sure at the end of the JSON, you have a closing squiggly bracket like that. So that's my JSON built. Next, I need to go back to make.com. I need to create a new scenario, give it a name, create contract, start, and start with a webhook. I want a custom webhook again, and I want to add a custom webhook. So I'm going to call this create contract. Click save, and once again, I get my URL. I just need this last section of the URL. I can copy the full address if I want to. Go back to my DocuWare workflow. Under root, plus, paste it in, and delete everything to the left of, or from the forward slash to the left. Excellent. I now need to test that this works, and that also will pass the data into make.com for me. So if I go to HTTP body, go back to my index fields, I'm passing across the address, test address. So if I fill in all of the testers in DocuWare, under the salary, £100, company name, test co name, test emp name for the employee, job title, test job title. I've missed out the start date. I've just realized, but yeah, if that was in there, I'd have added that in there as well. Click send. I get a message back saying accepted. If I go back to make.com, you can see I now get a message in make.com telling me it's successfully determined. Click OK. That's my webhook all set up. I now have the data being sent to make.com ready for me to build this part of the process. The first thing I need to do in Make is set my variables. So if I go to the tools at the bottom, I want the purple tools option. I want to set multiple variables. Attach that up. Open it up. I want to add all the variables for all of the data I'm sending across. So I want one called company name. Can't type. And the variable value is going to be the company name from the webhook. And another variable, employee name. They don't have to match. Obviously, if you do, it keeps it nice and uniform. You can change it, obviously, to make it more obvious in Make what you're using, or more obvious from DocuWare what you're using. That's up to you. Again, variable values now as employee. And another item, address. Another one, job title. And the final one, salary. Excellent. The next thing I need to do is go and get my template document from DocuWare. So this is always going to be the create contract workflow or business process within Make. So I'm always just getting the contract. If this was going to be dynamic, you'd also have to add something else into the webhook to let you know which document you need to go and get. But for this, it's really, really simple. So I'm going to add another module, DocuWare. Download a document. Connect it to my demo system. I'm going to my templates filing cabinet, and it asks me for the doc ID. I can get that manually from the templates cabinet if I need to. So I can go to edit index entries, and get the system entries and the doc ID from there. So type 1 in there. Next is the download format. This is really important for this demo. Obviously, the download format has to be in the original format of the document. Otherwise, we'd be converting the document to a PDF, and then the process wouldn't work. So I want the original format. Click OK. Excellent. If I run this once, just to make sure everything's working up until this point, the webhook can be called again. That's going to go through. I can see all my variables being set from the webhook, and I can see the document being downloaded from DocuWare. Remember to save regularly. It's always handy. You don't want to lose anything as you're going. And what I also do regularly as well is just re-auto align just to make it a bit easier as you're running through. Okay, so now we have our Word document downloaded. The next thing we need to do is add a module, search for Word, find the Microsoft Word templates. We don't need to use any aggregators here. We can just use an action. So I want to fill out a document. Under the file, I want to use the file that we downloaded from the previous step. Name of the filled out file, so what do we want to call it? I want to call it employee name underscore job title. Data source is going to be from a form, and we've got 5 values we'd like to add onto the document. All 5 value types are just going to be value. So you can fill that out ready, or you can do them one by one. It's up to you. And we've got a key and a value. The key is the exact value that shows on the Microsoft Word template document. What we can do is if I go back to DocuWare, I've got the template document here. I can turn on copy value to clipboard, and I can left click, drag over, take the value from the document, go back to make, paste it into the key, and the value that I'm going to use comes from the tool set multiple variables, and I just choose the one that is relevant to the key. So company name, next, go back to my document, employee, employee name, next go back to my document, address, to the address, job title, to the job title, and finally find it on the document, salary. Salary. I'm not going to do it in this demonstration, but if you click Show Advanced Settings, at the top of the option comes the delimiters that you can use. So this is where, right at the start of the video, I said about using a double squirrely brackets rather than anything else. That's the default value. If you haven't used double squirrely brackets for whatever reason, you can come up here and change what the delimiter used is for this to work. Click OK. That's my Word template now being filled out. The next thing I want to do is store that filled out Word template back into DocuWare. So I want to click plus, add another module, DocuWare, store to file cabinet. That's going to automatically connect up to my DocuWare system. I'm going to select the file cabinet I want to use. Select the file cabinet again from the list. This time obviously it's going to go to the HR because it's the finished document. Choose the store dialog. If you've got multiples, just check choose the one that's relevant. And then I'm going to fill in all of the index data for this document that I want to store with. So again, I'm just going to use the values from the set multiple variables that we used earlier. The document I want to store is now going to be the Microsoft Word template, as that's the most up-to-date filled-in document that we need to use. Click OK. I'm now storing a document back into DocuWare. The final stage I could do here would be a webhook response. I can send a 200 response, squarely brackets, double space, status, success. You don't have to do this final step if you don't want to. It is just handy to then be able to know within the DocuWare workflow itself whether the Word document has been created successfully or not. Click OK. Auto align again. Click Save. And there we have it, my make.com create contract scenario. So now we have pretty much all of the components in place for our business process. If we just go back to the workflow, we just need to finish this off. So I'm going to map that up under the create contract, under the HTTP response status codes. I'm just going to extend the timeout. It's just handy. Sometimes it can delay on that process, or the DocuWare API can be a little bit slow. So it's always handy just to pull that through. Click OK. Map that to the bottom. Click OK. Now if I save and publish my workflow, excellent. That's my workflow now ready to use. So if I now go back to DocuWare, go to my forms, go to my new starter form, start date, full name is me, address is, I don't know, 10 London Road, London, Northwest 1AA. Click submit. I'm going to get a pop-up telling me my form has been submitted successfully. That should now automatically create a workflow task, as you can see there. In the workflow task, it's got the same name as the activity we gave it, and I've got the same options as the options we built in the workflow. Company, salary, job title, head of YouTube demos. Click confirm. That's going to move on. That's now going to automatically in the background trigger my make scenario. And I should, if I go back to searches, refresh the search, have a contract. I don't. Let's go back to make and see why. There we have it. I forgot to turn the make scenario on. Always handy to do that. So turn the scenario on. Now, if I go back, submit a form again. Go back to DocuWare, go to my tasks, company, fill in all my details again. job title, click confirm. This time, if I go to my searches, waiting for me now, I have an additional document, which is a Word doc. Double click it, and I can see all of the data that I had added from my DocuWare process has now been added in the correct places in the Word document itself. What's super powerful about this is that unlike DocuWare forms, you don't have a fixed amount of space, so Word will automatically move the rest of the document depending on the size of the data that you've added. What's also really powerful now is as the HR team, they have this contract of employment in Word format. If they wanted to change a clause, they can just edit the document. That's going to obviously open it back to them in Word. They can make whatever change they want to make. I don't know, for example, it says date there. They want to add an actual date in that we forgot earlier in the process. Add the date. When I close and save, that's going to automatically version control the document back into DocuWare to record the changes. I can then take this document and use it in another business process. So I could send this to a head of department for signing before we then send the document out for signature using a signature service directly out of DocuWare as a workflow. Just to recap in this video, we've created 2 filing cabinets, we've created a template document, we've created a DocuWare form, a make process, a workflow, tied everything together to build a start to finish HR new starter to contract of employment business process. Thanks for watching. If you've got to this far, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Again, if there's any other videos you'd like me to do, any other business processes you'd like me to cover, any other make processes you'd like me to cover, please drop them in the comments or get in touch on the website, eden-digital.co.uk. Let me know, and I'd like to hear from you. Thanks for watching again. Cheers. Bye.